can't tell you the number of times I've had conversations with people who are in the business. They're sole traders, they are one-man bands, they are performing services ranging from sort of exterior cleaning, which is my background, to other things such as being a plumbing and heat engineer, for example, as other things. And they all have one thing in common, is that ultimately they are burnt out, they are stressed, they are sort of trying to balance what makes them money with what doesn't, and ultimately trying to come up with a means of successfully balancing work-life balance and all that sort of good stuff. And the biggest thing for me, I'm just going to mess with the camera, sorry. The biggest thing for me I've noticed is that, you know, there's a tendency for people that run small businesses to do things themselves. In some respects, it's a character trait that will make you go far. But there is a problem. The issue comes where you think you have to do it all yourself, and that you are so self-reliant you won't let anybody in, that you are at a point in your life, you're at a point in your business where ultimately you are running yourself pillar to post. You're stressed, you're burnt out. Ultimately, it's the people around you that pay the price first. But the bill will land in the form of you being ill, in the form of stress, etc., and all that sort of good stuff. So I just thought I would stick this video up and talk a little bit about potential solutions to those that are finding themselves burnt out and stuff like that. So again, if you are sort of taking everything onto yourself, wearing your heart on your sleeve, and ultimately getting slaughtered because you won't let anybody help you, you have to ask yourself this very important question: is it necessary for you to take on all that work yourself? Can you outsource that work? Is it your skill set even? Okay. And ultimately, does what you're doing now help you get towards your long-term goal? So if your long-term goal is to grow a big business, or even have employees, even if it's just a small business and you have employees, you have to understand that, yeah, sure, there comes a point where you have to let people in. You have to let people help you, or you have to sacrifice money or time, because you can't create time. You can only create more revenue. You can only raise your standard of living. You can only bring more money into the business by delivering more results, okay, or delivering bigger and better results. So the first point of call I would look at is to say, right, what is your skill set? Are you the guy that delivers in your business? Are you, when I say deliver, are you the guy that delivers the service that the customer pays for, that gives you money? Are you the guy doing that work? Okay, fine. Now let's look at the stuff that doesn't make you money that you do. Things like your accountancy. Okay, your tax return doesn't make you money. It simply organises your finances into a point where the government is able to take the correct amount of money out of your account to pay your taxes. It doesn't make you money, but it does cost you time. Yeah. In much the same way that things like health and safety, do you do all your risk assessments yourself? I'll bet any amount of money you like, the majority of people who are self-employed, sole traders, will pay lip service to health and safety, and all that sort of good stuff. But ultimately, and I was the same. I was no different, by the way. I'm not making a judgment call. I did sort of play it by ear a little bit, and it's like, well, it's just me, and I'm not going to sue myself and all that sort of stuff. So, but even if you're working on your own, okay, you have to have a minimal understanding of what your responsibilities are as a business owner, so that should you cause injury to someone else, yeah, or damage to property to someone else, you have an understanding of who's liable and all that sort of good stuff, and how you mitigate or lower risk, yeah. And then ultimately, if you're in another category where you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to scale, then ultimately you've got to think about bringing employees in. And with that comes HR, comes employment law, comes all manner of things that, you know, as an employee, you don't really have to think about it. You just turn up to work, do your job, collect your paycheck at the end of the month, punch your clock, and that's you done. You know what I mean? It's not the same for business owners, whether you are a small trader or whether you are a limited company. It's just not the same. So don't treat it the same. If you're going to want to scale, again, you know, at some point you will have to bring in people anyway. So the thing is you might need to create a system that allows you to do the things that, you know, don't make you money in a more efficient way. So for example, as I mentioned previously, you can sacrifice time or you can sacrifice money. You can either learn all the skill sets, okay, involved in accountancy, health and safety, and HR to do it all yourself, right? Or you can, you know, get out of your own way by bringing the people who know the most about those subjects and allow them to help you. If you do that, then you're going to find yourself in a lot happier place, and I can speak from experience on that. I am by no means an expert in maths. You know, I did my first tax return many years ago. I did my first tax return all by myself, right? And I struggled through it, and it was stressful. I'm not going to lie. I hate maths at the best of times, and I'll tell you now, even if my maths teachers are watching from school, they will testify to just how bad I was at maths. Okay, I'm not academically minded, and so people like me need help to do these things. It's just plain and simple. No amount of learning is going to make me better at maths. It's just not. And even if it did make me better at maths, is it going to make me richer? No. So ultimately, you pay someone cleverer than you to do those things, then you get out of the way. Okay, and the same goes for your health and safety, and the same goes for your HR. Because here's the thing, you could spend all that time learning those skill sets, getting yourself to a point where you understood 100% of everything, okay? And then the law will change. And then you'd be like, right, okay, well, I've got to relearn that. I've got to understand this bit here, and that change affects this, and blah, 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 and that law no longer applies, that section's crossed out, and all this sort of stuff. Cool. And even if you're the best guy in the world, you're at that side of life, great. You're still not getting any richer. The alternative is to sacrifice money. And again, when I very first started, I was the golem where it came to money, because I had a scarcity mindset. Okay, the little caveman in my head sort of said, oh, well, you've not had money for ages, Chris, and now you've got a big pot of money from all your efforts. You've worked hard and you've got this money and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, it's mine, and I'm not spending it. Okay, and that's a mistake. And here's the thing, it's a mistake that business owners up and down the country, all over the world even, will make. Because they equate their efforts performing a task with money coming back, okay? And all the other stuff in the background is sort of stuff they don't get paid for, but they've got to do. But well, if I don't do it myself, I mean, I'm not sacrificing money to get someone else to do it for me, and that's a mistake. Because here's the thing, if you employ an expert to do something, case in point, right? I did my tax return for the first time, and I completely, not only did I spend hours doing it, I completely cocked it up. Because there were certain things in that tax return that I could have claimed for that I didn't. Because I had no understanding of what I could and couldn't claim for, because I was, you know, I was new to, I'm 12 months in to running my first business. What the hell do I know about what I can and can't claim back? And here's the thing, the system doesn't care if you don't know your ins and outs. They just want you to perform a task, and if you perform it well, fair enough, fine. If you perform it poorly, it's like, right, well, equally fine, we'll just take more money off you. The government won't correct you, the tax office won't correct you if you make a mistake. It's up to you to prove that you are in the right, that you are correct, that you are compliant. It's up to you to know what you can and can't claim for, because, you know, the school system in this country, or generally speaking, the school system in this country will expect you to learn things and recite and all this sort of stuff. And there is a right and a wrong answer. But when you decide actually you don't want to be an employee anymore, well, the system doesn't care about you anymore. It's like, all right, okay, now you are punished for your mistakes, but guess what? If you make a mistake, well, it's not up to the government or the tax office to tidy up after you. So when I made that mistake, and I only found out about that the following year when I went to the accountant and I spoke to her, and she sort of said, well, you can claim for this and you can claim for that. And did you claim for that vehicle last year? And I was like, what? And so ultimately, you know, the lesson was a hard one, but again, you know, you don't learn the lesson, you're just gonna keep having it repeated. So that was a point in my life where I was a bit like, yeah, I need someone to look at this, because, you know, this is costing me thousands of pounds, this. And it's, you know, and it showed, because when I got my next tax return back, I was able to claim back what I should have claimed back for in year one. So again, you know, having the right people in your team, sacrificing that little bit of money to make you more streamlined and efficient and allow you to focus your efforts on what makes you money, that makes more sense than to try and take it all onto yourself, do it all yourself, be the hero, okay, and ultimately cock it up. So, you know, if you're going to scale, again, with employees, so the thing is, you're going to have to bring people in at some point. If you want to scale, that is, you're going to have to bring people in at some point. So what you need to do is you need to set an environment up so that when you do decide to take people on, it's as seamless as possible. Don't make the mistake of what a lot of people do, and I've seen people locally to me do this, where they've just taken someone on, employee terms, what have you, they've not offered them an employment contract, and then it's all come back to bite them in the ass, because ultimately they not only, it's not that they half-arsed it, they kind of were like, oh, well, we'll suck it and see. And the government doesn't see it that way, because employees have rights and you can't trample on those rights. You can't just say, oh, well, that doesn't matter, I'll deal with it later. And it's like, you know, yeah, absolutely, you can do that if you really want to, but you will fall foul of the law. And, you know, trust me, they don't take prisoners. So again, having that team in place makes life easier. So who helps me in my business on a day-to-day? Okay, I have my accountant, okay, who does obviously all my accountancy. I have Mark that does all my health and safety, and I have Alison and her team that do all of the HR stuff. I also have my mum, who helps me do the admin in the background, so the payments, the invoices, etc., and all that sort of stuff, checking payments through the bank and stuff like that. She is a massive help to us. And also Nicole, at the end of this school term, is coming into the business, as I've mentioned in one of my other videos. Nicole, when she finishes at the school, she will come in and she will take on things like the social media. She will take on the diary management. She will, you know, potentially long term deal with things like payments and stuff like that as well. So the thing is, you know, yes, when you become self-employed, you take a lot of responsibility onto yourself. But part of that responsibility is knowing when to call it a day, when to sort of say, you know what, I need help. Because very unfortunately, you know, there is no one there to sort of say, you need this, mate, and you should do this. And if I was you, I would do that. It doesn't exist, because you have taken onto yourself the fact that no one is coming to save you, and it's all on you. There's no question about it, you know. And the system will let you run yourself ragged and let you run yourself into the ground. Ultimately, it's up to you to call it a day. So if you've enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Really appreciate it. It does help the channel grow and reach a wider audience. I do enjoy interacting with other business owners, be whatever stage of their journey, okay. And you know, it's always good to hear people's successes, people's struggles, and sort of try and help people that are struggling along. So yeah, if you enjoy the videos, I'll see you in the next one, and if you don't, stick it. See you later. Keep on keeping on.